You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
This week on What Do You Got, we're going to be reliving our first jobs.
And COVID appreciation.
Ooh, stay tuned.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Bro Down Podcast. I'm Tim Fulton.
I'm Andy Smith.
And this is What Do You Got?
What do you got?
A little segment where we each come to the table with the topic the other guy doesn't know about, blah, 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 blah. Andy, what do you got?
COVID appreciation.
I appreciate COVID.
Yeah, I don't.
No, I don't either.
So this is the first year with COVID for this country anyway. And it's kind of weird, right? Because we're at a point where we've been dealing this for a while and everyone's sick and tired of it, but it's still affecting and it's ramping back up. But this is the first time where we've had the major American holidays be affected by it. And it seemed to get to a point where everyone, they're not being political. They're not being one way or another. They're just kind of like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like they're not trying to die on a hill. They're just basically like, this just sucks, right? Because it's to a point now where people are basically, at least the people that I talk to, it's like they don't want to get their family sick. They don't want to be that person that gets everyone else sick, but they do just want to spend time with their family. And it sucks because you have to make like a decision where you're like, yeah, chances are it's not going to be bad, but I don't want to be the person that's like, it's not going to be that bad. And then all of a sudden it's like,
Grandma
fuck.
doesn't make
Yeah, grandma's not going to make next year.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm seeing that it's probably going to come out of this once this, because there's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Whether that light is a vaccine, whether that light is we just become superheroes and grow immunities to it, or whether it's people just get so sick and tired of staying cooped up in their houses, they just say, fuck it, it's worth the risk. And grandma puts on a fucking backwards hat and says, yeehaw, let's go.
YOLO.
Yeah. So either way, I do think that all the things that have been stripped away, we're going to appreciate a lot more when all this is over with. And especially because of the fact that this did come right after the holidays. So we did get like the last round of holidays in 2019.
We did.
And then now this year, we've dealt with it for a year. And like everyone's been like, oh yeah, it sucks. But I think this is hitting people on a different level of suck. It's more so like they're not super agitated and mad. They're more so just like, fuck, man.
There's like the internal screaming of, God damn it, it's still here.
It feels like everyone's more on the same page of like sadness or whatever you want to call it than before, where it's like, well, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, whatever. It's like this is just kind of like, we can all just collectively agree that we want to see our families on the holidays, and this just fucking blows.
Yeah. I think part of that is because everyone understands it a little bit better now.
Yeah.
I remember having a friend who was saying, I can't wait for this to be over in April, by the end of April, because there was the 2-week lockdown, and that was supposed to end at the end of April, and just like, no, that's not going to be. And so, like, everyone, like, had different level of, like,
expectation
and, like, that final realization of, it's
Yeah.
not going anymore. But you're right. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and there are little good things along the way. Like my cousins and I were in. Oh, I'm not spoiling this for Grandma, just in case she's our viewer. But we're in chat because we're not getting together for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we're a huge family, so normally it's like Christmas is kind of a big deal, but we want to make sure that Grandma's not forgotten. So we're like discussing what kind of gifts to get her, like that sort of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it really does suck, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people are going to be spending time with their families this year or not with their families this year. That's going to be the last time they're going to be able to spend with that particular family or family member. But like, I don't have a huge family, but this year I only celebrated with 3 other people for Thanksgiving, which, when you don't have a big family to begin with, it's rough.
it is weird.
Yes.
It's weird.
So I do think that once all this smoke settles and we come out with a cure, I hope, and I really do think that people are going to have, it's weird to associate it with this, but this is really the only thing,
The silver lining.
as a feeling level, though, that I can relate this to from my lifetime is 9/11. And I don't mean in terms of like event for event, but the feeling of like everyone's in the same boat and we're all kind of like, hey, like none of us caused this. None of us had a handle in this. It's just the cards that were dealt.
Yeah.
Like the backlash that we had from 9/11 with like everyone being afraid and all this shit. Now, granted, that wasn't a biological thing. And it's not the same, you know,
Yeah, it's
again,
not one for one,
but at the same time, there is that thing where it's shifting now to where everyone is kind of collectively agreeing that, hey, we're all in the same boat here because we all live in the same country and it's affecting the world. So, and after 9/11, I'm sure you remember too, like there was this awkward feeling after that horrific thing that everyone kind of had each other's backs. Like everyone was kind of on the same side.
I remember they changed the Spider-Man movie for that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were originally going to have him between the Twin Towers.
Not just that, but they added in a whole scene where, spoiler alert for the very first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, but they were dangling Mary Jane Watson and then like a subway car full of people or something, and he had to catch both of them, and like a whole bunch of New Yorkers just started throwing bottles at the Green Goblin, and they're like, "Don't fuck with us."
Yeah,
They didn't say fuck with us, but they basically said, "Don't fuck with New York, asshole."
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of weird though.
Yeah.
Because that's the only other time in my life, like I can't speak for obviously other events, but where it brings like this weird feeling of like collectiveness through like this weird awful thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that though in the beginning, but it's starting to get there where everyone's kind of realizing that this is affecting everyone on some level. And whether you agree with what is being done or whatever, it's like it doesn't matter. It's still kind of fucking with everybody. So we can all agree that just it sucks.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting there though, where everyone kind of is just agreeing that it does suck.
I think so. I mean, we might be a little bit biased because we're in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I think it's always been a little bit more prevalent up here. As opposed to the rest of the country. I don't know what the rest of the world is up to. But,
well, just like 9/11 happened over here.
Yeah.
You know, we felt the hit of that because we live right across the water. From New York.
Yeah,
But
those were freaky days.
Yeah, but again, that's something that even if you didn't live here in the tri-state area, you still felt the aftershock of that thing in this country.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so it's, you know, whether we like to admit it or not, we're all in the same fucking boat here. And I just think that, you know, after all is said and done, there's going to be a lot, at least person for person, that you're going to appreciate, even if it's something as simple as going to a fucking grocery store and checking out and not having to wear a mask.
Dude, I felt so badass the other day. I was inside some convenience store. It was like Walgreens or something like that, and I was the only one in the aisle. I looked left. I looked right. I pulled my mask down for a little bit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a hardcore motherfucker.
You know what's weird though too, man?
Immediately put it
Do you
back
even think twice about putting one on anymore?
No.
You don't. It's amazing how quickly you adapt to things.
Yeah, I forget it still,
Yeah.
but
I do think that there's going to be this weird thing like how over in certain countries over in Asia where they would wear masks if they were sick because of certain SARS viruses and whatever. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think it has to be kind of accepted that you shouldn't treat that person like a leper.
yeah.
But again, if you have the flu and you're going out in public, if you wear a mask, I think it's a nice gesture on your part.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, there's no reason not to.
Yeah. I mean, like again, if you're having trouble breathing, by all means. But if you feel so inclined, if you're just trying to be like, hey, listen, I don't want to get my fellow New Jerseyans sick.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this as a precaution. I think that's something to be more applauded. I don't think it should be a requirement, but I do think, like, after all this COVID shit is over with.
You're skirting with politics there, buddy.
No. I'm just saying that, not that I don't think, I'm saying that if I had a choice, I'd rather people choose to do that than be forced to do it. Because it should be a social, I think if we can basically just say, like, listen, I as a person who lives next to you doesn't want to get you sick if I'm sick. So I want to choose to do that. Instead of doing it out of like, well, it's against the law, piece of shit. So I fucking have to, you know. So, yeah.
I agree with you, buddy.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
The appreciation's coming soon. I hope.
Cheers.
All right, Andy, get off your soapbox.
Yeah, I will. Let's get back to negativity. First job stories. Perfect.
So, my first job, I feel like we're going to have a very different approach with this because my first job, I loved it. I loved my first job to the point where if I had the option of making a real wage there, which I don't even know if it's open anymore, but I would go back in a heartbeat.
Okay.
I would work that.
Are we talking first full-time job or first job ever?
First job ever. I'm talking as like a kid. When I was like 14 working summers as a griller for this outdoor picnic place.
Okay. So the first job I ever had was odd jobs in construction, but that was for my uncle, so I can't count that because it's family.
Yeah, don't count family because I had odd jobs for dad too.
Yeah. So the first job that I actually had, it was for the movie theater.
Oh.
And I have some fucking stories for you there, sir. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
Keep it PG.
No.
Okay.
No. You gotta get fucked up. You're gonna be glad the theaters are closed after this story.
Oh.
So, all right. So, couple things here. I fucking hated the job for a couple reasons. Number one, it was basically like if you looked at a high school movie in like the late 90s, early 2000s, or even 80s where like there's clicky things. It was like that at the theater.
Yeah.
Right? So you had like the managers acted like they were the cool kids in high school. And like everyone else was just like this fucking like their toy to play with. So
fair.
And I was one of those I was just one of those people where like I did my job. But if I felt like you were fucking with me or whatever, I wouldn't quit because I'm stubborn, but I would make you have to deal with me on like a weird like just deal with my things that I did. So couple things. My brother's friends worked there before me. Now, just in case you didn't know this, the way that movie theaters work is they don't count the amount of popcorn or soda or anything like that they put into the cups, right? They don't have a measure for quarts or whatever. Yeah. At the end of the night, they do a count, which basically they count the number of bags, containers, cups, all that stuff, and they count it with their register to make sure how many they sold. Before I worked there, people would basically go into the garbage, take out the uncrushed popcorn and soda cans, and then resell them for cash and pocket the money. So if you went to the movies,
that's disgusting.
Between like the start of the movie theaters and like mid 2000s, there was probably like a 10% chance you were eating out of somebody else's popcorn bin or drinking out of somebody else's soda bottle. Because if you had, say there was 100...
Why are you doing this to me?
I'm just telling you. I know.
Why? Why would you do that?
Say there's 100...
Why would you do that? That's disgusting.
Say there's 100 cups and 100 popcorn bins at the beginning of the night.
Do you know how disgusting normal people are? I don't want... Oh.
I know. And for the 7:30 show, you sell 20 of each, right?
And I know. I've been to that movie theater multiple times when I was a
It's
kid.
not just that one. So
I'm sure.
You sold 40 things altogether.
I hate you.
At the end of the night... Or at the end of that round, you got to go clean up. So you go into the bin that everyone threw their shit out in. And you literally just take it up. You're like, oh, this one isn't crushed. Dump it out. You put it behind the counter. So say you get 5 of them. 5 popcorns, 5 sodas. So now you're 5 above the count. All you have to do is remember how much they cost. Tell them how much they cost, but only punch in the additional things that you don't have. So if they bought a Skittles, a soda, and a popcorn, you only charge them for the Skittles on the computer, but you tell them the amount that it is in cash up front.
Yeah.
So then you just take that money and put it in your pocket. Another scam that used to get run up there was the best at the smaller theater is where all the shows went to die. So all the kids' movies, every show that was at the big theater would go to the little theater before it went out.
Yeah.
It was the creme de la creme. If you had kids movies, because kids came in packs of like 50 kids. So what you did was you just remembered, all right, it's $7 for a kids ticket, right? Mm-hmm. Times, say there's 10 kids, so $70, or times 10 or 40, so it's $280. So you basically just charge the 2 adults for their adult tickets. add the $240 onto their thing, and charge them $280 or $270. They give you the money. You just give them the 2 adult tickets, and you go like, just let the kids in. It's going to be a mess giving them their tickets anyway. So then they let the kids in, and you pocket $240 on one sale. People that I worked with, they would leave that theater with fucking $600-700 cash in their pocket a night.
That's fucked.
Oh yeah, you just toss 20% to the manager. He don't do shit. He gets off scot free.
I believe that because my buddy he used to work at a movie theater too, and he had this similar setup. It would be the doorman, the guy who rips the tickets, and the guy behind the counter selling candy would all have to be in on it. Because the way that their movie theater worked is they would check candy sales versus ticket sales to make sure that the ratio was just about right. Otherwise, you would get flagged.
Yeah.
But what they would do, a couple would come in, and they would order 2 adult tickets. They would take the ticket, rip it, give 1 to each, and then they would pocket half the money. But you have to have the ticket guy or the guy who takes the tickets in on it, because he has to look at the tickets, just like pretend to be like, okay, you're good, and then let them in. Yeah, they were doing that constantly.
It was weird because we worked with like 1 or 2 people who were like those straight and arrow, like don't do anything wrong.
That'd be me.
Yeah, but like no, I mean like if you were like, hey bro, like $100, and they're like, no. So, a couple quick stories here.
I should have go first.
No. So one of the things we used to do is we all hated working there. Everyone hated their job except for like 1 or 2 people. And so what we would do is we would basically just try to get fired. Like if you had to get to 100% to get fired, we went to 99.5 every day. So it'd be like, hey, you got to clean this, blah, 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 do this, do that. And then we would just literally walk into the movie we wanted to watch, sit down, and just wait for our manager to come in and yell at us. Because he can't yell at us in the theater because there's patrons in there.
Yeah. So
he'd have to find us, and he would come up and be like, what are you doing here? We're like, shh. Like, just everything you could do to, just make somebody mad. But again, it wasn't on us because they were basically, running, a dictatorship. Yeah. The one time I told you, I don't know if I told you a story. We switched our uniforms from short sleeve, polos to long sleeve button-ups. The only sizes they had was X to 5X, but they never got any longer. They just got wider. So I had a 5X, and it was
like a tube top.
It was up to here. It only came this far up my wrist, right? And it didn't tuck in. So what I would do is I would leave it unbuttoned and I would roll my sleeves up because it looked silly. Yeah. It looked like a poncho. And I'd be in there, and the guy's name was Robin, and he was English, and he was 35.
Ugh.
And he would come in and he'd be like, "Why isn't your shirt buttoned up?" I'm like, "Because it doesn't look right when it's buttoned up. I look like I work in a circus, and I can't roll down my sleeves because they don't roll they're 1 inch longer than when I roll them up." And he's like, "Company policy, roll them down, button your shirt." So I would literally, the second he walked out, I would rip all the buttons off my shirt. And next time he would come in, I'll be like, "Buttons fell off." And I would just make him give me a new shirt. And every time I would just rip the buttons off my shirt and just make him give me a new shirt every single time. And I'm like, buttons are going to keep falling off, dude. You might as well just let me leave, keep my shirt the way it is.
You're the worst kind of employee.
Yeah. But, yeah, there was that. Don't ever think that those fountain drinks are clean either.
Yeah.
All those little knobs, they take them off at the end of the night. If you could see the buildup in there, horrific. Last story before I go. This is the last one. It has to do with the popcorn. So we used to make a special batch for our quality customers. It was the customers that would bitch at us for how much the stuff cost. We were in charge of making the prices. So it was usually always a Karen.
Yeah.
I can say that. I can say Karen. It's my people's. So Karen, they would come up and be like, they're like, "Oh, I'll take a large popcorn and a soda and a fucking Jujubes or whatever." And you're like, "All right, $6,700. And they're like, "What the fuck? How come this is so expensive?" And you're like, I don't know. And they're like, "This is ridiculous." And you're just like, "You really think I have answers for you? Me. Look at me. I'm 16. I work behind my shoes are filled with butter substance. Okay? Fuck off, lady." But what we would do is, what made you able to do it with a smile was that when we made the popcorn in the beginning of the night, you know those canisters that they have?
Yeah.
So what you would do is you would put the kernels in, you would hit the pump, it would discharge oil. And then you would take this salt, which was salt from Mars. It was orange. It was an orange salt that came in a fucking old, you know those milk containers with like the paper fold out? It came in one of those, and it was orange.
I already know where this is going.
And you would put one little scoopful of that in there. What I would do would be, in the beginning of the night, I would put in like 7 pumps of oil and then like half a container of salt into one of those bins. When that popcorn comes out, it's almost glowing. It is saturated in oil and salt. You take that popcorn and you shove it into one corner. And every time you get a Karen, you fill the first 2/3 up with regular and you fill the top up with that. And you give it to her. And every piece of shit that complains about paying for too much at the movie theater, they can't help themselves but throw a couple kernels in their mouth when they're paying you. Every fucking time. They can't fucking help it. And every time it was the same thing. They throw it in their mouth and they start to choke. And it's 100% worth getting bitched at to watch that piece of shit almost choke to death on the salty piece of popcorn that I made her. Justice. That's it. You go.
Damn, Gina. What the fuck is your problem?
A lot of problems.
So my first job was this place called Craigmere.
Oh, yeah.
It was an outdoor, for those who don't know, picnic place. You take your company there. It used to be a ski resort as well, but by the time I was there, it was no longer.
Okay, because I jumped off the ski lift there once because I thought a guy was going to molest me.
It's probably true.
I fell like 10 feet.
So Craigmere had 5 managers who were all basically like co-owners, more or less.
Okay.
And they were all adults. And those were the only adults.
Oh.
And the rest of it was basically run by kids, like children. I was 14, and there were times that I was like managing sections and shit. Like, it was pretty bad. And it was big too. Look, they had 5 sections total. And on any given day, you would have 2 to 6 people working a section. And then you also had like maintenance people running around. So there was a lot of like teenagers. So
okay.
It did teach us a lot of responsibility because we basically had to like run our own shit and like be responsible for our own shit. But it was also a giant shit show because it was just kids like doing whatever the fuck they wanted all day long.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
It was dangerous multiple times. And those are the best kind of stories. I remember this one time. First off, New Jersey law is that you're not allowed to work anything that has like a heating substance to it until you're 16.
Like a heating element.
Yes. And I remember I was 16 and it was my first year grilling 3 years in a row.
First year grilling. So you started when you were 13?
14.
Okay.
14, 15, 16.
Okay.
So I remember the first time I was on a grill. I was 14. I never grilled before. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
I can't grill now.
So I had this one area, I had this gas pump, right? And I didn't connect it all the way on accident. I saw it, though. So I plugged it in.
This is one of those things where if this went to a judge, he would be like, you'd be like, Your Honor, I told the employee. And he'd be like, he's 16. And you're like, yeah, but I told the employee. He'd be like, he's 16, fuckface.
He's 16. And then it would come out, oh, he's 14.
Yeah, that's even worse.
I was 14.
And you look 14 now.
I know. Oh, my God. I was a baby.
Yeah.
So I remember the gas had been leaking for probably 5 to 10 minutes. I connected it, and I let it sit for 30. You're supposed to preheat the grills for a little bit just to get like it all going and whatnot. But I let it sit for a half an hour before we started cooking. Dumbass me, when it was time to finally start grilling.
Was any of the gas going into the lit pilot?
No. When it was time,
you didn't see that the pilot wasn't lit?
It wasn't. There's no pilot. You light it yourself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you didn't light the grill?
No.
You just let the gas run for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Oh God, wait, I'm confused.
So
so you wanted to preheat it, but you didn't light it.
So you're complicating the fucking story.
I'm just trying to get my grasp on this situation.
Food doesn't start till noon.
Okay.
We start at 10 a.m. because we need 2 hours of prep time.
Okay.
At 10:30, I go to the grill, I connect the hose, and that's it. I connect the hose and I turn the hose on.
Okay.
So the hose was leaking, but I didn't actually turn the grill on.
Okay.
So I caught
Gotcha.
it. I caught it probably at like 10:40.
Gotcha.
So it was a while. I think it was like 11:30.
And this is inside.
No, it's all outside except we're under a giant tent,
Enclosed?
not enclosed.
Okay. Lucky.
So I go to light it. The gas didn't move. The gas is all around us. And I insisted on turning on most of the things before I lit them because I was 14 and stupid. So I lit it. Giant fireball. Giant fireball. You see and like when I say there's a tent, I mean there's a tent and there's like a solid 200 people underneath it. You
Like
see
fireball like engulfed you?
it went out and up. Huge. And like there was a bunch of us like sitting around it talking, and like everyone kind of got blown back a little bit. Not like Michael Bay bad, but like bad enough where like people noticed.
What did you do?
The grill was lit. I succeeded.
Whoa, Nelly. Whoa. Everybody's eyebrows fine.
Hope everyone liked the show. So I remember that happened. I remember drinking a lot there. A lot.
This is starting to make sense.
Because we had giant coolers full of like kegs. We had kegs and we had boxed wine for some reason. And I remember that's just like what we serve people. If they wanted,
That's a young person drink.
Well, it was a drink.
Everything's a young person drink.
Whatever you can give us. So we would take turns on slow days. We would take turns going into the freezer, quickly doing some boxed wine because they couldn't count how much was in the box.
Doing some boxed wine.
We would literally just put our heads underneath it, drink as much as we could real fast, and go back out. I remember one day being like, "Oh, I'm drunk. We're getting a little." There was multiple times where I said to myself, "We're getting out of control." I remember I was 17. I worked there for years, way longer than I should have.
Yeah.
I was 17, and there was this big hill going down. When I say like, I should also say that I'm making this all sound really bad, but I made like lifelong friends at this place. Like everyone was super tight for the
You're drunk all
longest
the time. Of course you're going to make friends.
Yeah, of course. So I remember this one time we would occasionally race down this hill. It was a long hill, so you could see the bottom of it. So we knew if there was like oncoming traffic and stuff like that. I remember this one time we're racing down and we're going way faster than we should have. And this girl in the opposite car literally got out, sat on the window, and put her hands up in the air and started doing the woo thing. And I was like, oh no, we're getting out of control again. No.
Yeah.
She lived.
See, I look at most of my jobs and I'm like, if I was drunk at most of my jobs, I'd be miserable.
No.
I would not want, like, if somebody came to me, it was like most of my jobs was like, you want a shot? I'd be like, get the fuck out of my face, bro. Like, if you think me being drunk here is going to help me, you're sorely mistaken.
You're different.
Our
Our boss would get drunk. He would.
Maybe because you're at a cool place.
It was dope, man. It was so much fun. Our boss would literally, the mornings were fine, and then throughout the day, he would literally run around in a circle all day long, making sure that all the different stations were like covered. And every station he would go to, he would grab a beer.
Oh,
And he would just
so
circle.
he had a problem.
Circle. Every single night, he would have to hang out with the dishwashers from like 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock just so he could drive home. Looking back,
He's got a problem. How old was he at the time?
my memory's skewed, dude. I don't know if he was 35 or 55.
But he was at least 30?
Oh, you know what? He had a daughter that worked with us. So I'm going to say he was in his mid to late 40s.
So he was...
They all worked with kids. That was it. It was a giant thing of children.
I'm judging super hard, and I'm going to not because it's your buddy.
He was a good guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, I hear he runs a dairy
But somebody
company.
who's in his mid-40s getting shit-faced with 14-year-olds
Dude,
seems like he might not have his ducks in a row.
Dude, he worked at an outdoor picnic place. Can't blame him.
That's like a National Lampoon's character.
It was bad.
That is pretty bad. He's the worst guy.
It was so much fun, though.
Kids you can understand. Guy in his 40s? Sorry, dude. You don't get a pass. The kids do.
The kids do.
Not you. Sorry.
I don't know. We were pretty bad.
I'd want to meet him.
You would have liked it.
I would have.
Except
Because it's not me.
What other good?
I had one where when I hated my job and I was trying to get fired. By the way, I never got fired. I got stopped being scheduled. One time there was this one guy who
being scheduled.
And this I'm not like being whatever, but there was this one guy, and this is just what happened. This guy was a couple years older than me. I say a couple, but he was probably 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference when you're 16 or 17 years old. So he's like 21, 22.
Yeah.
And he was one of those kids who like, he was really witty, but he would do that thing where he would shit on you in front of people. But he wasn't like a physically imposing person.
Yeah.
So it was like all emotional abuse. Like I say emotional abuse, but like I'm just using that.
I know
as
exactly
like
what you're saying. The kind of person. Yeah.
And he would do it in like really? You thought 4 was what you're supposed to put in there? Okay. And you're just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'm asking you how to do this. And like there's like people around and everyone's kind of like, oh, I guess Andy's stupid. Or he would do it to everybody though. And I forget what he did. But he did something to me in front of people, and like everyone laughed, and me being the emotional psychopath person that I was at the time, I started walking with him, and there was a room that we kept the posters at right when you leave. You know those 4-way doors?
Yeah.
I grabbed him, I threw him in that fucking room, and I grabbed him by the throat, and I said, if you ever make fun of me in front of people again, I'll fucking kill you. Something to that effect. And I said, don't ever do it again. And I let him go. I walked out. I'm like, I'm probably getting arrested. I'm definitely going to get arrested. But he didn't say shit. Kudos to him. Like, he didn't say shit.
Kudos to him.
But I wasn't serious with that. I don't think I said I would kill him. I think I just basically said, like, I'm going to fuck you. Whatever the fuck kids say.
Yeah,
that
don't make me
doesn't
nervous.
sense
I
or
work with
sound
you now.
badass. But I remember I grabbed him and I was like, dude, don't ever fucking do that shit again. Like, I didn't know how to express or be witty and basically tell him, like, stop doing that to get him to listen. I just knew what would make me stop. So that's what I did to him. And, yeah. So that was a bad job, but there's some fun stories from it.
So last one, and then we'll call it a wrap. I remember this place that I worked at, we got minimum wage. Minimum wage back in the day when I was 14.
It's like $6.25?
$5.15.
$5.15. Yeah. It was either $6. I remember they raised it by $1
at some point
when we were like just working age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was a while because I made $5.15 an hour for 3 years.
They fucked you over, dude, because they raised it to $6.15 when I started, right before I started working, or right after I started working. I'm a year
younger.
I'm a year younger than you.
Yeah.
So they were.
No, I'm telling you, I paid attention to that shit.
You were drunk most of the time, Tim.
That's a good point.
Let's be honest. You already told me your stories.
So I remember, maybe it was 2 years because I think it was my 3rd year. It was either my 3rd year or my 4th year. There was this girl that really liked me there. I was a stud there, by the way. All the women loved me. I'm not even joking.
How'd that work out? You heartbreaker.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was a heartbreaker. Dude, it was terrible. So anyway, this girl, Jessie.
Nah, bitch. Not into you.
We talked each other up. We were like, all right. It was the beginning of the year. And we're like, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to storm in there together. And we're going to demand a raise.
Oh.
And I remember, like,
poor souls.
We were about to go do it. And her brother stopped us. And then he was like, don't do it, you fucking idiots. Like, they're talking about raises right now. Don't make a fuss. Let what happened happen. We're like, all right. We started at the same time, too, me and Jesse. I remember I got a raise. I went from $5.15 to $5.60. Fucking baller.
Did she not get it?
She did not get a raise. And I remember coming up to her at the end of the week because I saw it in my paycheck. I'm like, Jesse, we got a raise. And she's like, I didn't get a raise. Oh.
Did that cause friction?
There's a glass ceiling, Jesse.
Did that cause friction?
No, she still loves me. She loves me to this day. I haven't seen her in
man.
10 years.
I feel like she might have talked shit about you when she was drunk after that. This piece of shit.
There was so much drama. It was all kids. I remember she ended up dating this guy, and they like ran away from home or something like that.
What the fuck did you work?
I'm telling you, it was.
You want to hear the best?
It was Bayside, except the outdoor version.
This is the last one. It's short.
Okay.
This is how bad it was to work at the movie theater. There was one time when two of my buddies from high school were working at the movie theater with me, and it wasn't that bad because we were all friends. And the one time, my buddy basically just walked up like halfway through the night, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't think I want to work here anymore." And it was like a Saturday night, like a busy night, and the manager was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't like it here. Like, I quit." And the manager was like, "You can't," like, acting like it was like he was a cop or something that was like leaving an investigation. And he's like, "What?" And like, he couldn't believe that this kid didn't want to deal with his bullshit. And he was just like, "All right, then leave." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna, like, goodbye." So he's like, I quit, bro. So then manager being a manager of a fucking movie theater, not knowing how to manage people, he tells the other buddy, my buddy, like, "Hey, man, so-and-so just quit. We got to double up now. Like, you got to go do everything he was going to do. So go to the back counter," when they used to have the back counter open, "and clean up on blah, blah, blah." So he's back there, and, like, he got, like, 3 candy things out or put them in there, and he's just like, "Yeah, I don't want to work here either." So he fucking quit, like, 10 minutes after the other kid quit. And the guy was like, "What?" He's like, "You fucking really? You're going to quit?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to work here either. See ya, like, later." So he quits, and then I was still there, and I was like, "This is great for me because I'm the White Knight now. I can do no wrong."
I look like a hero.
You need me now. I am not expendable. Like, I am the one. So I basically looked at him like, "Don't make it too hard for me because I'll leave too, bitch." Like, so I just cruised for a couple weeks. It was good. Shitty, but good.
Shitty.
But that's all I got.
All right, guys, we want to know what your stories are from the very first job you've ever had. Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the little bell notification. Blah, 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 blah. I say this all the goddamn time. We have a whole backlog of videos. So go check them out.
We do.
There's good shit back there.
Couple good things.
Couple good things. They suck.
They're amazing.
We'll catch you guys
Tell
next
us which
time.
one of us is wrong.
Yeah, do that. We'll catch you guys next time.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day.